Here we have verse 59 of the 8th chapter of the Gospel of John, reaching the conclusion of this conversation that Jesus has had with the religious leaders, culminating, of course, in the statement that he made in the previous verse, before Abraham was, ego eimi, I am, asserting himself, of course, into a status that could not be reasonably construed by anyone who was listening, could not be construed as anything but a flat affirmation of deity. And that, of course, provokes the predictable response from these religious leaders who conceive and view such a statement as nothing less than blasphemy. So we have the statement here, Aaron, this is from Iro, which can mean I take up or I take away. This happens to be the third person plural aorist active indicative, so they took up. Un, the postpositive conjunction, un, therefore, lithus. Of course, we have various words in English from this word lithos, a stone, monolith, that kind of thing. So they took up stones, referring to the religious leaders, the unstated subject of this sentence, hina, in order to, and then takes the subjunctive as we have it here, balosen. This is from balo, which means to cast or to throw. This is third person plural, aorist active subjunctive. The word hina will typically take the subjunctive as we find it here. So they picked up stones in order to cast, literally upon, epi, usually means on or at him is the sense here. So they took up stones to throw them at him. They were planning to stone him. They viewed what he had just said as nothing less than blasphemous, which means that their perception of what he said was that it was a claim to deity. Those people who seem to find some obscurity in the New Testament affirmation of the deity of Christ should take a second look at some of these texts where obviously the enemies of Christ had no problem construing correctly exactly what he said. So they took up stones to stone him because of his apparent blasphemy. Jesus, Jesus, postpositive, but Jesus, ekrube. This is from krypto. It literally means to hide. We have the word cryptic, that sort of thing. It means to hide or make something secret. Interestingly, the grammar here is third person singular aorist passive indicative. So literally it would be Jesus was made hidden, as if done unto him by some third party. We gather it's simply an idiomatic way of saying that Jesus hid himself, but he was made hidden, made as it were invisible. Kai exalthin from exerchomai means to go out. This is the third person singular aorist active indicative of this second aorist verb. He went out ek to haru. He went out of the temple. So though they were taking up stones to stone him there in the temple precincts, Jesus nevertheless absented himself, made himself invisible. You almost get the feeling here, walked away unscathed by the matter. But certainly the affirmation he had made was not the least bit ambiguous in their minds, and it only served to heighten the tension and the hostility engendered among these with respect to the claims that Jesus was making.